Maybe he'll listen. He sounded. Big and tough. Anyway.
February. Oh my gosh.
It's February.
Are we good? Okay, welcome. I call this February 3rd Committee of the Whole meeting to order and acknowledge traditional territory of Tla'amin Nation to open the meeting. The first item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. Any changes that people wanted to express before we had an adoption motion? Seeing none, I have a motion to adopt from Councillor Southcott. We don't need a seconder for Committee of the Whole. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Second item is a motion to close the meeting to the public. Can I get that motion read? Councillor Elliott. Microphone, Councillor Elliott.
Apologies, committee. I move that that the Committee of the Whole move into a closed meeting to discuss matters covered by the community charter under sections 92B, the consideration of information received and held in confidence relating to negotiations between the municipality and a provincial government or the federal government or both, or between provincial government or the federal government or both, and a third party, and between the municipality and another local government, or between another local government and a third party, and between, whoops, my thing went down too far, the municipality and a First Nation or a prescribed Indigenous entity, or between a First Nation or a prescribed Indigenous entity and a third party.
All right, motion's been moved. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. So we are heading into closed and we'll reconvene the open portion at 3:30 p.m. We're online, we're good? Thank you. Welcome back to Committee of the Whole, February 3rd, 2026. The agenda was adopted when we opened the closed meeting at 2 p.m. before we went into closed. Next item is territorial acknowledgement. Cheche Hochkut Klamen Kaimu Asna Teegije. That's my attempt at Ayadutham, referencing the Tla'amin territory and its stewardship of Tla'amin people since time immemorial. First item on the agenda is public input period, and subject to the rules and conduct set out in Section 11 of the Council Procedure Bylaw, up to 3 members of the public have an opportunity to provide comment for a maximum of 2 minutes on items listed under legislative matters, committee recommendations, and new business. Just a reminder to the public and to council that it's not questions may not be asked about a public hearing where bylaw has not been adopted, defeated, or abandoned. And we, for future reference, we do welcome written comments as long as they're received by the corporate officer no later than 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting. And also a reminder for council that we sit and listen. This is not a Q&A period at this time. So the one item under those topics is the review of sewer and water utility rates bylaw. Are there any members of the public that wish to provide comment to council during the public input period on that item? Did we receive any written correspondence, corporate officer DeJong? No. Anyone online? All right, we'll continue on then to general matters. General matters is a delegation from the African and Afro-Caribbean Association of Qathet regarding upcoming Black History Month celebrations, reflect on community impact, and discuss continued collaboration. And so I welcome up our delegation to speak today. You can head over to the microphone here. You can just pull the microphone up to your face and feel free to introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. The mayor, the council members, happy to be here. Good afternoon. My name is Adeola Awopetu. I am privileged to be the president of the African and Afro-Caribbean Association of Qathet, and I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. I'm here on behalf of the member of our association, the African and Afro-Caribbean Association, and what I'm here to do is to share our plans about the Black History Month celebration this February. So the theme for this year is Builders of Nation, Shapers of History, and what we will be highlighting throughout the series of events is the contribution of the Black communities to the society, and also while creating opportunity for learning, dialogue, and celebration within the Qathet region. And our activities includes a financial literacy and wellness session in partnership with the First Credit Union. And we realized that we need to promote financial empowerment within our community. And even this is not just open to our community, it's open to the entire public. So anybody that wants to come for the financial literacy and wellness session, they're all welcome. I'm sure you agree with me that everyone in the community needs financial well-being. Also, as part of that event, we will be making a community donation to the Powell River Food Bank. It's just a way to reinforce our commitment to supporting the wider community. And also the grand finale will be on February 21st. It will be a celebration. We're going to have the mayor and the council, also our special guests, and there will be cultural performances, live music. It's a family-friendly activity, and we are going to be welcoming every members of the community. And our goal is to continue to foster the inclusion, cultural awareness, and community connection, and while still celebrating the diversity within Powell River and the Carthage region. We appreciate the continued support of the mayor, the council, in making, Carthage region a welcoming place for all of us. So thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your delegation today. Can you remind me of your name?
Adeola?
Adila?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, Adila. Any questions from council for our delegation today? Councillor Almeida and then Councillor Doubt.
Thank you, Chair. No questions, but excited to see this event back on the calendar again. I've put it in my family calendar, and provided that we're in town, we'll definitely try to be there. It's always been a great event, and I hope more of the community can come out. So it was a great show last year at Dwight Hall, and should be another one again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Doubt.
I just wanted to say thanks, Adiola, for last year's event. My wife and I went and attended for the whole length of it, and I encourage anybody who is interested to go. And there's a lot of good food, some things I'd never eaten before, and I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to having them again. Lots of music, lots of culture, and it wasn't a 10-minute event. It was a good place to go and spend the whole afternoon. So thank you for putting it on, and I'm going to do everything I can to be there again. And I encourage everybody else in the community to show up, because there was space for more people last year.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
I heard you had a video, maybe?
Yes, we have a video highlighting the event, and
Councillor Doubt. Excellent. Thank you.
thank you.
I see Councillor Palm next.
Yes, thank you through the chair. Sir, sir,
Look.
you can't leave yet. So I just want to say thank you for coming in again today. I know that your group came in last year at this time, and unfortunately I'm away on a trip when your events happen, and I couldn't make it last year. And I am away on a trip again this year. Your events are happening. So I just want to say thank you so much for doing this, because this is something that was always very valuable in our community when we put on a wide-ranging event at our complex before COVID. And pre-COVID, we had all the various cultural groups come to our upper chamber in the community recreational center. They all brought various forms of food and cultural aspects to that event, and it was very well attended by a lot of the community that showed up, and it was very well received. So in terms of your group, I'm hoping that you will advocate for that event to make a comeback to our community. I'm sure that you will gain support by doing that, and you will have far more people showing up for your event if that was to come about. So thank you so much for what you do. You just put that in my brain to hopefully make that happen again. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we will connect maybe with the council to find out more about that cultural event, and we will definitely make it come back.
One last comment. You dress very well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And thank you for coming today. And I don't think you need additional help with attendance. Very highly attended event in this community. And also important, unique to this month with it being Black History Month. Councillor Elliott, looked like you had a hand up as well.
I did. I wanted to thank him for the last year's celebration was awesome. I'm hoping to make this year's. I was also at the reporting of the youth cat is that they've been working with Cinema Politica to do a film during the film festival this year about the rising of the Black Panther and all the work that they've done for anti-racism. And they were looking for, and I think the film festival is coming up. Is it in February or March?
So the film festival is in March, but this film that you're speaking up is in February.
Okay.
Yeah, Dope is
So
Death is the name.
it is during Black History Month. And I know that they were looking for contacts in our local Black community to have people to be part of a panel for discussion after the film. And I wondered if our delegates wanted to talk to me at some point or give a card and I could ask about that on behalf of the youth cat in our community. And set Cinema Politica are a collaboration, and they're doing that in February as well. And so that was my ask of the delegates.
So I'll just ask the delegate, if you could leave your contact information behind for Councillor Elliott. She wants to get in touch with you to help make a community connection. You can leave it with one of the staff members here and we'll get it to Councillor Elliott. Fantastic. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does anybody have an item to remove from the consent agenda? Can I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda? Councillor Doubt. All in favor? Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Next item is legislative matters, review of sewer and water utility rates. I believe we have a presentation from the interim chief financial officer, Bjorgard.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So based on council's direction from the December 3rd budget meeting, staff have now completed a review of the sewer and water utility rates with the goal of putting both of these critical utilities on a sustainable financial path. The draft fund financial plan shows that the city's sewer utility is in a deficit position with funds from the sewer capital reserve having to be used to fund operations and with no funds available to be transferred to the sewer capital reserve for infrastructure replacement. The water utility is in the opposite position with the excess of funds being available for transfer to the water capital reserve for infrastructure replacement after paying for operations. In reviewing the city's sewer and water utility rates, staff have also looked at the best practices for funding municipal utilities with a combination of user fees and parcel taxes, with the parcel taxes only applying to sewer being recommended funding sources providing stable and secure revenue to these important utilities, as opposed to property taxes, which is subject to various demands, varying individual contributions from year to year, and no connection between usage and fees charged. It is recognized that the city does not have developed an up-to-date asset management program which would provide data in regard to the future replacement cost of its utility infrastructure or assets and the general timing of those replacements, and which would in turn determine appropriate reserve levels. In the absence of this information, these utilities need to be placed on a sustainable financial path, with future rate reviews being refined based on up-to-date asset management information. To get the sewer operating fund on track so that sewer parcel taxes and user rates are paying for operations and contributing to sewer infrastructure, The revised sewer financial plan shown reflects a 3% increase in sewer collection parcel taxes, a 28% increase in sewer treatment parcel taxes, and a 28% increase in sewer user rates for 2026. And ongoing 3% increases in the sewer collection parcel tax and ongoing 5% annual increases for the sewer treatment parcel taxes and sewer user rates after 2026. With these increases, approximately $340,000 is available with sewer surplus in 2026, with larger surpluses in subsequent years, which together contribute towards sewer capital. The revised water financial plan shown reflects a 25% reduction in residential water user rates and a 15% reduction in commercial water user rates in 2026, and ongoing 5% annual increases for water user rates after 2026. These changes still result in a substantial amount of funds being available for transfer to the Water Capital Reserve Fund on an annual basis, with the 26 transfer being projected at about $460,000. The rate changes being recommended for sewer and water result in a rebalancing of sewer and water funds and a steady buildup of sewer and water capital reserve funds. The net impact of both the sewer and water rate changes on a residential single-family dwelling is $25.69, or 2.6% for 2026. The impact on commercial users will vary depending on their classifications and frontage, but reasonable annual increases are projected. The detailed calculations, as shown in Appendix A, and the reasonableness of the city's recommended residential commercial rates were gauged in a peer community survey, which is shown in Appendix B. That is my summary of the report and the recommendations that staff are providing to the committee.
Thank you. We'll start with questions. First round of questions, we've got Councillor Elliott.
So I'm aware that some of our water pipes throughout the city are in poor and old condition. And looking briefly at the report, it seemed as though we didn't necessarily check with infrastructure and find out whether there's some large projects required on our near horizon that might account for the additional reserves that we have been building up. In that, I think it's drawing near to when we have to replace all of our, or a lot of our water lines. And we also have this issue of hydrants being needed to be replaced in a lot of areas where they're old. So my question, I guess, is if the projects upcoming for water are higher than envisioned, how would we make sure that we're not getting ourselves in a bit of a pickle?
Through the chair, if you look on page 16, and you look and see there's a line item near the bottom called projected water capital reserve balances with the revised financial plan. And you can see, even with the reduced...
Can I pause you for a second? CFO Bjorgaard, I'm actually having trouble finding what you're referring to. You said page 16?
Page 5 of the report.
Oh, page 5 of the report. Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Continue.
I'm referring to the agenda. Sorry. So if you look at the line item called projected water capital reserve balances with the revised financial plan, even with the reductions in the water rates in 2026, you still see a substantial amount of funds available in the Water Capital Reserve Fund. Now, these projections already include the infrastructure replacements over the next 5 years that are needed in water. I think that the Director of Infrastructure Services probably could speak to this issue as well.
Yes, Director Rollins. You'll have to hold the microphone right up to yourself. It's a, yeah. And it may not be on, and it's sometimes tricky to use, so
No, it's got red.
Hello.
go. Right up to your mouth. Even closer. Oh, it's
No,
not
it's
on
not
again.
Hello.
Don't push the button.
Oh,
There we go.
we are. Okay, I'm great.
And welcome. I think this is you, maybe, is this your first time speaking at a, no.
This is my first time speaking.
All right,
Yes,
welcome.
absolutely. And yeah, through the chair and Councillor Elliott here, absolutely correct. In a perfect world, we would know exactly every single part of an operating system, water, sewer, all of our assets, the treatment side as well. We would have a full review done on all the parts, and we'd know when each needs to be maintained or replaced. And that requires an annual maintenance aspect to it. And then when we hit certain thresholds, each part needs to be actually replaced. And we need to have those all on the radar for our entire system, which includes fire hydrants, piping, and the full water treatment systems and sewage treatment systems for the discharge. The lives are different for every different parts of these, and we want to tie budgets to each specific one of those items as they come up through annual contributions to that replacement and maintenance. So there's two budgets there, an operating and a replacement. So we're putting some money in the socks, so to speak, to capture the change that comes up and to keep the system operating as we provide under the requirements of the Professional Governance Act and Drinking Water Protection Act and all these acts that require that we maintain and operate that system according to what's needed to ensure that we get our discharge requirements met under the regulation and people have water to drink out of their taps that's clean. So this all ties to the budget, and what needs to happen is a clear connection between the asset management plan, which needs to be updated considerably, and the financial budgets to do that. And that process is underway as we speak. This step is a step closer to that process that's being brought forward, but the detailed analysis that needs to identify all those thresholds and tie it to the budget properly is down the road yet to be done. And it's a very common situation for many municipalities in BC.
Follow up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do we know when we would need to do one of those bigger asset management plans? Is it 1 year, 2 years, 3 years?
Good question. The analysis is going on now. There was a big asset management push that done around 2014 and some really good work done. And yet there was quite a bit
12 years
after
ago.
that too. So they need to be flagged, and they have been flagged in the engineering department to a degree, but we need to pull this into a very comprehensive process that comes back every year, making sure these systems are constantly maintained.
So we could approve this today, and once we have a better picture, if we need to change it again, we could do it at that time, and we're not at risk for immediately undermining some pot of money that we had to save for some major infrastructure repairs.
I'll hesitate on saying we alleviated of all risk, but yes, as we move forward, we'll be very scientific about it and be able to attribute the proper budgets to make sure those things are captured under the thresholds that we need to do. So for sure, yeah, that's what we're trying to get there.
Thank you.
All right, we have Mayor Wasno and then Councillor Doubt.
Thank you. In putting together the report, did you ever see a period of time that Powell River had bylaws for both the sewer rate and the water rate that were achieving the goals that you've outlined today? Or has this just been an issue that hasn't been addressed since the inception of Powell River?
Through the chair, I'll try to speak to the history. I think that we didn't go through the complete history here of the what was going on with water and sewer. But it's clear that the water contribution was excessive in terms of the infrastructure that needs to be replaced. And it was clear that in the sewer side of things, when the debt servicing costs and other increased costs came online for the sewer treatment plant, that there clearly wasn't an increase in rates to reflect those increased costs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the CFO is still talking, but we're not hearing it.
No, he's not still talking. Did you have additional comments, Director Borgard, CFO Borgard?
No.
No, he's just thinking. All right. Thank you, Councillor Doubt.
It's, it's been an interesting history in the last 6 years, but it always is interesting when it comes to budget time, when people are trying to make decisions about taxation and how much taxation should we collect from the good residents of this city, and how can we avoid it? And sometimes you can avoid taxation increases by not putting money into reserves, or by using the money that's in reserves for something else, and thereby drawing down those reserves. And we've talked about asset management. We've talked a lot about asset management over the time, but I think what's clear from this report and from my point of view is we don't have as robust an asset management plan as I thought we did, but it looks like staff is thinking about addressing that and working on it. I think the important thing that I see here is for the revision to the 2026 budget, it moves us in the sewers system from being in a deficit to having a positive reserve, and increasingly positive as time goes along, to meet those expenses that are going to come up. All of a sudden, you're going to find the leaks in the middle of the roadway, you're going to find the damaged pipes, and somebody's going to have to fix them. And the better reserve we have, the more carefully we fund that reserve and maintain it, the less chance we have of having to come to the taxpayers for a sudden tax increase. So that's what, and I've read through the report and looked at all the numbers, and there's a lot of them in here for people who like numbers.
Do you have a question, Councillor Doubt?
Yeah, and my question is, I think we're strengthening the reserves, balancing the water one to lower it, actually, increasing the sewer reserve to make future tax increase spikes less likely. Am I right about that?
Through the chair, that's correct. When the net impact of both sewer and water is considered, having a reasonable 2026 increase on the users of the systems.
Thank you. Others in the first round of questions? All right, I've got a question for Director Borgard or CFO Borgard. I know at a previous council meeting, I had expressed interest in these rates being based on property assessments rather than flat fee, and you've outlined the rationale for not recommending that. And I appreciate your professional opinion, and also want to explore, I'm curious to explore the possibility of these contributions and the rates going up, but being tied to property value, property assessments. While I understand the recommendation for user pay principle, there are very few things in a city that only users pay for. We collectively collect taxes to pay for things that are of value to the city as a whole. And so I'm wondering, I'm looking at the motions and wondering if there was an alternate version or amendment that talked about the overall revenue goals that we were looking for example, a 3% increase for sewer collection parcel tax, 28%, looking at the overall pool of revenue that we're looking for. And then once the assessments come in and the budgeting happens, being able to tie those together, and for those increases based on property assessments. I'm wondering if that sort of motion, like the financial procedure in getting to the tax bills, whether that would work, how that would work. And again, I understand that it's not your recommendation, and so I acknowledge that, but I'm looking at a variety of options that interest me, and so I'm curious about motions that meet the financial procedures that we need to do to in order to increase the reserves for these services, because I agree we need to shift, and I'm looking at all of the different options to make those shifts. So give me some insight into motions that would meet the financial procedures required to generate that revenue. Thank you.
Through the chair, I think that any shifting of the funding of the utilities to taxes would entail a further tax increase and put further pressure on taxes, which are already subject to various demands, including the loss of the mill revenue and the need to fund the RCMP at a greater level. So, of course, these things can be done, but it's not a stable form of revenue from taxation. And of course, when you're talking taxation, the value of homes go up and down from year to year. So the people would be paying varying amounts on their taxes for a utility. But if there was any desire, I guess, to shift to taxation, it should be very clear on a tax notice how much money is being taken up or created for the sewer fund, and there should be a separate tax rate created on a tax notice such as called sewer levy that clearly differentiates between general taxes and the amount of taxes going toward the utility. Obviously, anything is possible, but I would not be recommending that because of the various pressures and because of the need to connect the user rates and the parcel taxes with the utilities, and to make sure that those fees are fully paying for those utilities. I think if you look at 99% of other communities, they always fund the utilities with sewer user rates, water user rates, and parcel taxes. There's not an impetus to shift to taxes because of the reasons I've outlined.
Thank you. And so in terms of a procedure, I agree with you in having a distinct, a separate line. Like my intention is, if I'm thinking procedurally, my intention is for those levies to still be clear and directing revenue, tax revenue to, or not the fee revenue or the levy revenue to sewer and water. But having the root of that, whether it's based on assessed value or, like a new rate, as you mentioned, to still generate the amount of money that you intend with these increases and decreases laid out here, but it be calculated in a slightly different way. And so it sounds like, again, I acknowledge that it's not your recommendations. I wanted to understand the mechanism, and it sounds like the levy is like a levy model with a distinct rate that achieves the revenue that you're looking for to contribute to those funds would be the mechanism, I guess, is what I'm saying. I'm trying to understand the mechanism.
That would be the mechanism, yes.
Okay, thank you. Additional questions, first round, Councillor Dowd, or Palm, sorry.
Thank you, through the chair. Don't have a lot of questions, but I just want to say to our new CFO, I really appreciate the material that you presented here today. Comprehensive, especially when it's compared to other communities close by. Shows where we are and very comparable across the board on the rates being proposed. And, to the mayor's question, how have we done historically? Well, I can say back in the day, when I was first elected back in 2008, the question of the day is, we need a new sewer plant, a new liquid waste facility for this community. And it took all of 3 additional terms to make that happen. And what has changed overall, those reserves were plentiful for both water and sewer for that duration, until one thing changed, the building of our new plant. The amount of manpower needed, the infrastructure needed, that's what changed the equation. And this is a nice way of mending the fences in terms of the imbalance between water and sewer on a dollar for dollar basis. And I commend the CFO for his vision to do so, because this community is very fortunate.
Do you have a question, Councillor Palm? We're in questions
We
right
have
now.
new water facilities, we have new sewer facilities, but we still have a problem. And that is the infrastructure in the ground, under our roads and under our streets. So that balance is very much needed. CFO, thank you very much for your fine work today.
All right, we're still in first round of questions. Anyone else in first round? Councillor Southcott.
Yeah, this may be kind of oversimplistic, but and I think I've already kind of half heard the answer to the question. It's very reassuring that staff are working on a new asset management plan, because as I remember, the big realization from the last one was just how much we were not spending on upgrading or fixing things according to expected lifespans. That's the one thing that stuck out to me anyway. So the question is the there's another reason why I'm asking this question, and that is that the change numbers in the report are pretty big. Like a 25% and a 28% change are big. And when I saw those, I pulled out my property tax notice to just see what that would do. But then I realized they kind of balance each other out, and I'm sure that the taxpayers will be pretty happy about that. But is it enough? Is what is being transferred into reserves enough based on the knowledge that we have right now for what is going to be needed going forward for our sewer system? That's the question that's still in my mind. I don't know if it can really be answered or not based on the work that's been done so far. I suspect not.
Through the chair, as indicated by the Director of Infrastructure Services, the missing piece of information here is information on the city's assets and the condition of those assets. But as more information comes to light in that regard, the rates could be established more accurately, should I say. But the other aspect, as you see in the report, is that in the past, the city has set user rates and parcel taxes for 4 years in advance. And that has, I believe, led to a situation where the rates weren't fully evaluated on an annual basis. So the intention would be to set the rates annually going forward and to reevaluate based on the best infrastructure information that the city had.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that makes great sense.
We're on second round. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you. So I'm looking at Appendix B, comparisons of estimated annual water and sewer costs by category. And there's our proposed rate, and then you compared it to a number of communities. And in most cases, we're kind of in the ballpark, not the highest, not the lowest. In the fast food outlets, we seem to be the highest across the board. I'm just wondering what's different about our food outlets or the way we fund or charge those out that might be making that so different than other communities for their fast food outlets.
Through the chair, I could speak to that. It was very difficult. We had quite a few categories under the water bylaw and so those categories broke out into different number of water sources within a particular fast food outlet. The basis for that wasn't clear in any of the literature behind that particular category in this city. So we had to make some assumptions, and then we averaged it on a more typical fast food outlet that might have two water sources, two sinks. And then we tried to estimate that across the different categories. And essentially what I'd say is it's very spurious at best, and it's very loose comparison because of the different way the water generation and the sewage disposal is calculated in each different municipality. Some of them are based on just annual fees straight out of finances, no relationship to water and flows. And so we had to make some big assumptions to compare. On that particular one was particularly difficult. So it looks like we're charging a lot more, but I would say it would take a lot more research to confirm that.
Okay, so this may not be exactly what gets charged?
That's correct.
Okay, and if it is, are the other ones accurate, or are they possibly not correct as well?
So all of those figures that are in there we had to literally take our rates and try to figure out our flow rates for each particular one of those categories, and then backtrack it into extrapolating what it would be charged at under different bylaws in different communities based on the flow and based on what they charge. And some communities are straight based on flow meters, very accurate in terms of flow versus cost, and others calculated it again with alchemy, trying to figure out based on a cost that's relative to someone else and some basis for it that was not evident. So very tricky stuff. But some of the general ones there were pretty confident in, like the residential rate and some of those other ones. But otherwise, the others, the further, more detailed and averaging that we had to do, it's very difficult to confirm those numbers.
I guess I'm not wanting to, without knowing, disadvantage or provide a competitive disadvantage for our fast food outlets compared to other communities. And I don't know if we can figure out whether we're doing that or not, because that would be good.
Yeah. So through the chair, that's the intention of the next steps, is to confirm exactly what are the flows, what's the latest literature, where do these numbers come from relative to the user generating the amount of either potable water or discharge, and then work that through from that point all the way through our system so that we exactly know what's being charged, what the total capital and replacement cost of the entire system is versus the flow rate. And then from that point, we'll be able to say intelligently whether we're contributing properly and everything else as per an asset management plan.
So for process-wise, we're trying to figure out what to put into draft 2. When we get to approving draft 2, that's when these rates would get approved, or do they get approved before that?
Rutherford, CFO Bjerregaard.
Through the chair, should council approve these recommendations to go to council, and should they be approved at council, then staff would initiate the bylaw amendments at that point to implement the new rates. Now, Powell River's bylaws are historic in terms of some of the categories that are noted in the bylaws for commercial. And at this point, it would be a long process to try to reevaluate, which categories are more representative of user pay than not. And I think that that's more of a long-term process that needs to occur, as the Director of Infrastructure Services has said. But in the meantime, we're just at this point trying to make sure that the sewer operations is on a sustainable financial path. And the longer term rate structures can be looked at as part of asset management.
Thank you. Second round questions, anyone? I'll entertain motions. Councillor Palm, question or a motion?
Just a quick question through the chair, and that is, You spoke of residential rates, you spoke of commercial business, and you referenced that there will be some increase to business, commercial, but there is no definition in terms of increases. My biggest concern on seeing all the information presented here is the amount of increase to our business and commercial rates, because I already know that our businesses, in terms of taxes, are being highly taxed. Will this add substantially to those business taxation costs?
Through the chair, I don't believe it will over an annual period. I think that the ratio of which each class is paying in terms of the different classifications is not changing. And the fact of the matter is, I think from generally speaking, and the Director of Infrastructure Service can speak to this too, I think it is through the analysis and through the survey, I think it is true that the commercial side of things is a small part of the revenue for sewer and water. And in the future, it may show that they need to pay more. But for now, we're trying to limit those increases and keep the rate structures intact that are there.
Very happy to hear that, CFO, that we're showing restraint for our business community. Thank you.
Just a clarification for Councillor Palm's question. I feel like in Appendix A, you've got that last column, which is net dollar differences from changes in sewer and water rates for commercial. And most of those amounts are, in the range of, well, some of them are even minus, but go up to maybe a $200 difference. Like that's the scale we're looking at here.
On an annual basis, I think the one you're referring to probably is the pubs and the things like that. But I think that it's on an annual basis, and it still maintains the ratio between each of the classifications.
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be some that are going up more and some that are going up less. But the fact of the matter is to keep the ratio between each of those, and those amounts are very much an estimate because each of those businesses has a different frontage. And we couldn't really get down to getting exact with it because we would have had to go through all the businesses and see what those frontages were. So that is very much an estimate as well. And staff would do the utmost to communicate to businesses that are more materially impacted.
Thank you. Councillor Doudt.
I'm going to read the motion that's in the package. Number one is that the city utility functions sewer. Oh, I'm going to start at the beginning. That the committee recommend to council, one, that the city's utility functions, sewer and water, continue to be funded by a combination of user rates, sewer and water, and parcel taxes for sewer only, which provides stable and consistent forms of funding. Two, that an amended sewer rate bylaw be brought forward to implement a 3% increase in sewer collection parcel tax rates for 2026, B, a 28% increase in sewer treatment and disposal parcel tax rates for 2026, and C, a 28% increase in sewer user rates for 2026. 3, that an amended water user rates bylaw be brought forward to implement a 25% reduction in residential water user rates for 2026, and B, a 15% reduction in commercial water user rates for 2026. 4, that the City of Powell River's Draft 2 5-year 2026 to 2030 financial plan reflect a 3% increase in sewer collection parcel taxes, a 28% increase in sewer treatment / disposal parcel taxes, and a 28% increase in sewer user fees for 2026, and 3% per annum increases in sewer collection parcel taxes, and a 5% per annum increase in sewer treatment / disposal parcel taxes and sewer user fees from 2027 to 2030, and B, a 25% reduction in residential water user rates and 15% reduction in commercial water rates in 2026, and 5% per annum increases in water user rates from 2027 to 2030.
Would you like to speak to that motion, Councillor Doubt?
I think this is, I've read through the package. It's, we need some more work to be done on basically the asset management program. We have time to do that. Just want to comment on, the balance between one class of business and the other. It seems to me that we're going to do something other than use the current estimates, which we've been using for a long time. That the simplest way, but not the easiest way, is to provide water metering. So we actually measure the water uses being done there, or somehow get the numbers for these businesses in other locations, which may be doing water metering and may help to provide more detailed information. But if we had a water metering system, which I know is always controversial, when you try to put waters in on all the residences and businesses in an area, at least you get actual figures on the number of gallons of water used, number of liters, and you can also measure the frontage, but that's a long-term thing. This program that are the few resolutions we're making here, I believe, are in order to deal with this year's taxes and make sure we have healthy reserves to take care of the water and sewer provisions in the future and manage taxes going forward. So I think it's a good idea. I support it.
Thank you. We're in debate now. We'll continue. I'm just going to call on everyone to see who's got comments, and we'll start with Councillor Elliott and continue around. Anyone can share their bit. Councillor
Thank you,
Elliott?
Chair. I think I'm in favor of the motion, but we do need to spend some process time, staying on top of these issues and making sure we're competitive as a community. And I also had one more question, if you would indulge me. It was to do with private pools and the rate attached there, and what that exactly means. Does it mean my grandkids' backyard pool, or does it mean a hotel that has a pool, or what does that refer to, and how do we even reinforce that?
Councillor or CFO Bjorgaard or Dr. Rollins?
I could speak to that. Yeah, the private pool was pretty, again, it's backyard pools and the rare case, a full community pool, but primarily backyard pools. But if you take the number into this averaging factor, you come up with that particular number. Again, very misleading.
Director Rollins, you'll have to continue to hold your microphone.
Sorry about that. Again, very misleading, but we seem to be in the ballpark in terms of that quantity that was used as the basis for that. And I'd have to look back in my notes to get that quantity for you, but it is all pools and what we charge for a backyard pool averaged out on a basic average volume per residence.
Is that permanent pools or temporary?
Sorry?
I'm just wondering how we know who has a pool. Is it the kind that is permanent and built with a permit, or is it the temporary type?
I didn't. The smaller ones are not included. This is ones that are built and identified by the
permit. Okay.
By the department. Yeah.
Councillor Plum, any items for for debate here? Okay, Councillor Plum. No. Amita, Mr. Wasno?
Nope.
No. Councillor Silcott? No. All right. I support the principle of the motion in the sense that we are trying to make sure that we have all the revenue that we need to cover the costs that are associated with water and sewer. I am generally for a different form of equity, which is based on property value as opposed to flat fee. I believe the frontage doesn't necessarily accurately reflect either the user fee or the value of what could be contributed from each household to the community. So I'm going to vote against this motion, and it's easy for me to do so because I feel like it's going to pass otherwise, because I do generally in support and principle the intent of this motion and the work that staff put into it and the good practice that they're following. But understanding the levy model is something that is for me to take away for future years or future consideration. Right, I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? One opposed. Motion carries. All right, items, no unfinished business, no rise in reports, no late items, no notice of motions. We're into public clarification period. And so members of the public may ask questions to clarify items discussed during the meeting for a maximum of 2 minutes. Questions about what happened today, start with press. Mr. Glinsky, welcome.
Chair, I had 3 questions with regard to item 10.1. The first question was, does the operation of the consolidated wastewater treatment plant contribute to the proposed increases in sewer rates?
To Director CFO Bjorgaard.
Through the chair, yes.
Yes.
That's a very direct answer. I appreciate that. I'm wondering, will increases in sewer reserve be dedicated in part to wastewater treatment plant replacement as well as city infrastructure?
Through the chair, yes, that is the intent, that all of the monies generated after funding operations would go into infrastructure for both the replacement of the treatment plant and for the replacement of the collection system.
So all assets related to it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My final question is building on Councillor Dout's statement. I was wondering, would the city contemplate water meters for new construction?
Ooh, that's a big question. Pass the question to staff whether that's been explored yet, but this is also a political question.
You can hear me all right? Good. Yeah. The answer to that question is I'm a real believer in user pay. Flow meters is the way to get there. It then allows people the opportunity to reduce their costs at each site by reducing their use of water. Ultimately, we will be looking at those kinds of things as we get deeper into the asset management and looking at mechanisms in what's the fairest, most equitable way of addressing the costs and distributing them accordingly. And once we know what we're talking about, then we can look at different mechanisms to do that in a more of an equitable basis based on the value of a property, for example.
I thank the director for his response, and he...
Pause just 1 second, Councillor, or I was calling everybody Councillor tonight. Mr. Glinsky, and just to clarify those sorts of things, staff bring recommendations to council, council makes those decisions, and I believe Councillor Dout wanted to add something.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that I was well aware when I brought up the idea that simply measuring the amount of water going through the pipe into the building is purely a scientific project, and it's an engineering question. All of those are solvable, but the metering of water in communities is a political question. It ends up being a political discussion and people making a decision whether they want to do it that way or not. So it's a combination technical and political decision. And I'm suggesting that I think personally we've got enough political situations going on right now that maybe we can think about this one for a while before we jump into it.
I thank the councillor for his response. And finally, I remember when the asset management plan was being prepared about 10 years ago and the amount of pride that city staff and council had in it. I'm wondering if there are going to be some efforts to modernize the asset management plan going forward so that it takes into consideration some of the new construction and things that we have going on in the city.
Thank you, Mr. Glinsky. I believe Director Rowlands mentioned some work already in that direction. If you could just repeat that or continue that train of thought.
100%. We're hoping to do that so that we can speak very clearly about usages and that we're making sure that our city systems are protected and for the future. And now it will take some time.
It took some time to put the plan together. Thank you for your indulgence, Chair. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. More questions from members of the public in the gallery or online? Welcome.
Good afternoon, Council. Pardon me. Thank you for allowing the public to ask questions, and thank you to staff for sticking around to answer them. Because you have to phrase everything as a question, I wonder if you know how surprised I am that you don't know the history of Westview and their water. That the volunteers of the first citizens of Westview built flumes from Hamel Lake, or West Lake, if you want to call it, and brought their water in that way, which was, so every tax increase is thousands of % more than they imagined in the beginning. My second question would be, what is fast food?
That's a question.
Perhaps to the CFO.
Yeah, thank you. So perhaps I don't know if it's Director Rollins or CFO Bjerregaard. What is the definition of fast food in that built into the existing bylaws?
So that would be like McDonald's, Tim Hortons, those kinds of facilities. I presume, again, the definition has to be, it's the boundaries of that definition that might be a different.
So not necessarily a breakfast place or lunch or dinner place.
I'd have to go into the actual role to see exactly what facilities are being taxed for that purpose. Okay. But we can get that information for you.
Through the chair, I think there are other classifications around restaurants. So fast foods are distinct from restaurants.
So he said fast foods are distinct from restaurants, so that different classes.
Sorry to interrupt. So this list is not comprehensive. And so wasn't the sewage treatment plant supposed to be all grants? In fact, famously, not this particular iteration of council, but previous councils, 90% grants, it's all paid for. And famously, this council, not necessarily this iteration, but some members of this iteration said, it's not tax dollars, it's all grants, which of course is ironic. And I wonder, because CFO, you said this is costs incurred by the sewage plant. But what happened to the grants? Like, where did all that go? Because we bought all the stuff before COVID. We planned it all out. We laid it all in the yard. We gathered our eggs. And now that the chickens have hatched, they're suddenly more expensive than they were in the beginning. Could you tell me why?
So question through to CFO Bjerregaard, I believe, about where grants fit in and what's remaining.
Through the chair, I believe the grant portion was about 40 or 50%, I believe, or a bit higher for the capital costs of the treatment plant. Mm-hmm. So there was a non-grant capital portion of the treatment plant, and the city borrowed money to pay for the non-grant portion. And as a result of those borrowings, there's ongoing debt servicing, principal and interest payments that have to be paid through operations. In addition, when you build a new treatment plant, there are other operating cost implications. So together, the city has to pay for those things. And they also have to pay for the eventual replacement of that treatment plant.
Would you like me to repeat that, Roger?
Nope, I got that. Thank you very much. And possibly the last question would be, why wasn't the hospital on there? I mean, that's a huge user of water just by its very nature.
Maybe a question about other levels of government and et cetera, and how they're charged for.
No, ma'am. Excuse me, Chair. I asked specifically why the hospital wasn't on there, not government. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. And so hospital and other government agencies, how are they charged for water and sewer?
Through the chair, if you look at the appendix A, the hospitals are one of the categories listed under commercial.
Okay, is that the spreadsheet?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
next day
That-
spreadsheet.
Yeah,
That's
the
correct.
spreadsheets, sir, with all due respect, that's unreadable. I saw it here in the notes and I can't read it. The print is like 0.2 font and it's unreadable.
So thank you. You were able to, there's a version of this online where you could zoom in because it is quite small when it's printed on one page. Thank you very much. Your time is up.
There you go. Thank you.
Other questions from the public, including any online? No. You had a
Yeah, I just,
response?
wanted to help the resident there. We've got on close to the bottom, we've got W17 water hospitals per bed, and there's a charge. You can find it in Appendix A. I have to stretch it out and put my reading glasses on, but I could do it.
All right, seeing no other members of the public at the microphone, and we are done our business, and so our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.